Hey everybody, it's NoodleDog. It's been a couple of weeks since I've posted my last video, and that's because I've been doing a lot of things, mainly doing work and trying to make sure that I can, afford to live. I've been here thinking about stuff to actually do for my channel, and while I have videos in the future that will come out, it's been kind of hard to make topics, especially since I've been so busy. But today is kind of special, so I decided I would take some time off to kind of actually make a video. It's kind of late, and it's actually the recording day before my birthday. So I decided that I would actually make a video going around and looking at some art. Now, I have some archives on my computer, and I picked out a couple of pictures because why not? I'm gonna embarrass myself with you guys, and I'm gonna show you guys my art. Getting another year older is a little bit different. I think the biggest thing, of course, is learning and understanding that you grow as years go by, and you should always reflect and look at what you have, what you've done, and what you will do, and where you're at now. So I decided that I would go back to my art that I have on my computer and look at some pictures that are less than good, I should say. I'm going to try to be fair to myself because this is about 5 or so years ago, so I'm gonna try to be fair to myself in that regard. But other than that, I kind of want to see where I am and where I was back in the day, and we can kind of talk about it, and I can kind of give some talk about it. This is supposed to kind of show that anybody can improve, and this has been 5 years in the making, so I think it'd be pretty cool to share. So with that, let's go ahead and share the stuff. So I've got 12 pictures or something like that picked up, so I'm gonna actually pull up the first one. It's gonna pop up on the screen here. Boom. Yeah, looking at this picture, I actually have to say this is actually one of the first pictures I did digitally. This is around 2015, so this is when I actually first started moving towards the art field as a serious venture. I had a Wacom Intuos back in the day, and I was just trying to make art. I didn't know any better. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to blend. I didn't know how to do anything like that. It's pretty evident going through. But I will say, when I first made this picture, I was actually very proud of it. I'm trying to zoom in. It's kind of annoying, but I could try to zoom in a little bit. Yeah, it certainly isn't great. But we can kind of see where I started, and we kind of see where things are going, where I picked up inspiration from, and there's quite a bit to look at here, at least. Understanding and trying to figure out certain types of poses. You can see that I'm trying to do a little bit of foreshortening, trying to do a little bit of pose and gesture, and background. It doesn't look too great, but in the grand scheme of things, this is kind of where I got my start. And I think that this is something you can actually look at and tell that, well, I was trying to go somewhere. Didn't exactly succeed, but I mean, I started. And this was the first real venture into actually making digital art. And back in the day, this is actually really important to me. I loved making this kind of stuff, and I felt really good about that. Similar to the next video, the picture actually. Let's see if I can go to. This is actually a picture I made shortly after the previous one. This is in 2015 still. And this is actually one of the first pictures that I was actually super proud of because it was more background than anything. A little backstory for it. I really enjoy Jak and Daxter. If anybody has never played that game series, you should definitely play it. It's really cool. But one of the things that I liked about the series the most was I enjoyed the backgrounds and the landscapes, and I enjoyed the characters. So it's kind of an homage to that. And I don't know, maybe I'll come back and actually make a picture or a redo of this particular picture because I still kind of like it, even in this more advanced day of mine. I actually do really appreciate the time, and I remember actually making the decisions that I made, choosing to do certain colors as opposed to other things, and I didn't know anything about design or anything like that back in the day. This is literally me just making stuff and trying to be creative. You can even look in certain parts of the picture, and I can actually kind of tell you because I remember this. Actually looking right here in the background, this is actually just like a layer that kind of slapped over in the back. Originally the layer was like a really non-blended fade from orange to blue, and it looks really terrible, but this is the newer version, so it looks a little bit better. I decided to choose blue as opposed, kind of like a bluish gray as opposed to straight blue in the water, because if you ever look at the sunset, sometimes water doesn't necessarily look blue during sunrise and sunset. It looks more grayish. So that's kind of what I started to do with this, and this was going into the phase where I started learning how to actually use source material, because sometimes references can really help make or break a product. So this was kind of me learning to go into that area, and I'm still really proud of this one. This is actually one from 2016. You can see that I kind of moved away a little bit. This is actually a lineless piece. This was for a comic that I was working on, and I never got past page 3. Yeah, that still is a thing for me. But besides the point, this is actually something that I worked on for a little while, and I was actually really proud of this one because I started to learn how to use anatomy, and certain things started to click for me. You can kind of see where things began to actually move towards a certain direction. I could see in this particular picture, I'm looking at it, there's a little bit of it feels a little bit more organic. There's not a lot of, it's a little bit more smooth, not as stiff, but there is still a little bit of stiffness. There's a lot of angles that need to be worked on in this particular piece, but looking at it, there are some anatomically correct enough things, like the muscles have a little bit of correctness, and torso's kind of long, but things like that. The arms are rather nice, so it's something that you could actually look at and say, oh, this is actually not too bad. And you could see as a jump from this to this, keep in mind this was actually later in the year. In the year of 2016, there was a lot of growth and development between the last picture and this picture. And I think that looking at it, it's actually kind of nice to see that where I was going and where I'm developing in this particular phase of my life started to kind of solidify into the later years of what I'm working on towards the present. So that's pretty neat. Overall, I kind of still enjoy this picture, even though it's kind of plain. I would go back and probably change the colors because my character is a little bit different looking now. And I think that that's something that I would have to keep in mind. So it's an interesting approach. Nice, it's working. It kind of fixes itself. And yeah, not too bad, not too bad. What's the next picture? This one. So I added a couple traditional pieces into this demonstration because I thought it was pretty cool. This is actually when I started working in the art department at my school. Well, not working there, but actually moving to the art department. This is where I started to learn how to blend, how to use shadows, how to make things, and I used a lead stick and a graphite pencil to kind of create this. And it was inspired by Naruto. I think Naruto is one of my inspirations, and you can kind of see in my artwork that I do a lot of anime inspired stuff, and that's perfectly fine. It helped me find what I liked to do and what I didn't like to do, and it kind of pushed me into a way where I decided to actually make my style my own. Now this was kind of like an homage to the water dragon jutsu. If you don't know what that is, shout out to the water dragon gang. But this is kind of cool. I actually do appreciate it because I scanned this one. You can kind of tell where it's kind of going with this, with the darker values on the one side kind of lead to a better and more interesting composition on the left side rather, where you can see the dragon forming, and it's got like even a form of, it's got a lot of roundness to it because the water feels fluid based on where the highlights are and where the shadows and where the values are placed. It becomes kind of like a value map. It's really cool, something that you wouldn't normally expect, or that you would normally do unless you're really trying to get serious about art. That's what this was about. This was 2016, and I was actually learning about stuff. I had good teachers who were willing to teach me, and I was willing to listen. So this was towards the end of that year. So good job, me, actually. I really like this picture. I don't know where it is now, but maybe I'll find it at some point again. It was in a really crappy sketchbook, but I digress. All right, moving on to 2017. This one was particularly interesting. So a little bit of backstory about this picture. I made this picture when I was, I believe, I had left school. So I left school for about a year altogether. This was the first half of the semester. I got really burned out. I couldn't focus. I couldn't do a whole lot. And so I posted this one onto my DeviantArt because I was tired of drawing and I was trying to, survive. I was actually working part-time at a zoo, and it was something that I felt that I needed to do to actually kind of move away. And so I was very self-conscious about my art, and comparing it to what I did before, it actually looks pretty good. I just had issues with, myself, and having to move on, seeing a lot of things in real life, it made me think as if this wasn't going to work. And so I did this kind of like a minor farewell while I kind of worked on my stuff in the background and did traditional media to kind of bolster myself for the next couple years to come. The colors are really cool. I actually really like the colors. I also like the use of the pencil tool. Actually, this pencil tool is the one I use for all my sketches. So like, I think after this particular picture, I used it a lot more. And I believe this is actually when I bought my Cintiq in 2017. So I started using a screen for once, and it actually became a little bit more streamlined. So I was able to experiment a little bit more. So you can see the colors are a little bit different. The ambition in using a little bit of clothing folds and things like that. The use of filters kind of to make it look like a sunset, things like that. You learn these kind of things, and eventually you add them to your repertoire, and you know when to use them and when not to use them, and it becomes really good for you in the latter part of your life. So this one's a pretty good one. Not bad at all. Looking at these pictures and everything so far, I have to admit, I didn't think I'd like a lot of the pictures, but seeing them now, it's a lot more endearing because I know where I was back in those times, and seeing them as they are now, it's really flattering to see that I was that kid at this point. I was on this at some point, and this kind of goes to show you that anybody can change and anybody can improve. Just have to really put onto it, and it's okay to have your downs as long as you pick yourself back up. And speaking of picking myself back up, this is a really cool one. I actually really love this concept. I might still use it. I don't know what I'd use it for, but to explain, I made a series of Greyhound characters, and they were basically designed to race and destroy each other. And they were named kind of sillily. I don't know if that's the right, but they were named really goofy because I actually you can see his name is Starvation. He's there's supposed to be stuff you can't outrun, so you can't outrun Starvation. What's the time? Yeah, you can't run Starvation. He attacks, but also he's on the racetrack. Yeah, they were high-tech robots. His thing was he had like blades on his arms and stuff like that. He would slice up the competition and eat it because he's Starvation. He's always hungry, and I always really loved this concept. And maybe I'll use it again, but for the time being, this is kind of what I had for this. I really enjoyed making this because it was something that was a little bit different. You can see that I'm learning to experiment a little bit more. I'm not just working on canines or felines, I'm starting to work on other stuff too, and that's really important for growing. And I think that that's something that everybody should learn how to do, is to grow and try new things, and always flesh out your skills and see where you are. And eventually you'll find that you can branch out to other things and incorporate them to what you know, so it becomes second nature. So there's that. I've also got another one here, I believe. Yes, I do. This is Dead. Yeah, Dead has laser beams and stuff like that, and Dead, you can't run from Dead either because Dead catches up and always messes you over, crushes you. Dead had really nice legs, as you can see clearly. He's got some beautiful legs. And I was really impressed with this one because this one felt a lot more cohesive. It's a lot smoother than the other drawing, as you can kind of see. This one's a little bit more rough, but this one has a little bit more composition. It feels more like a gesture. It's very loose. It's very flow-like. And you can really see that I was trying to actually make something interesting. His hands are small, but then again, the characters don't necessarily need hands because they're racers and all this stuff. Like Dead has like a chest cannon, as you can see on his left breastplate, and yeah, so that kind of stuff was just experimenting and stuff like that. And this was actually in my downtime when I wasn't at school, so this was actually me learning how to experiment and to be okay with doing different things that didn't necessarily pertain to being good at whatever. So I grew in my own way, which is always cool to see. And yeah, I think this is actually what I have to show for 2017. We're gonna move on to 2018, and with this picture right here. I love this picture. This is actually kind of like shows where I'm solidifying my actual current style. There's a little bit that has to be worked on, but you can see that my figures are kind of getting together. See, my colors are starting to kind of form to make a little bit nicer composition. You can see that my persona is what is child. Child is drinking a milkshake. Don't worry, it's a milkshake, so it's should be good for a baby. I hope. I'm not a baby expert or anything, but yeah, they both got sunglasses on. This one was just a really cool one that I really wanted to share with you guys because I actually really like this one still. I will say this kind of grew into an infatuation with sketches, as you can kind of note that it's very choppy. That's primarily because I did a whole lot of sketches and never finished a lot of stuff, and I don't know why I did that, but it just kind of became a thing for me, and I liked doing it, so I eventually just never stopped. A lot of my stuff is sketches, and I am not sorry. I'm not sorry. I will never do line art. I'll never do line. But yeah, colors, focusing with other stuff. This is actually around the time I started getting into Chinese, actually, so this is probably another thing too. I liked dragons. Long's dragon, so too. And that's pretty much it for this one. I will say one thing, this is actually where I started solidifying my character, my persona. His design actually started coming around in 2018, and it started actually staying in this particular time frame. So between 2018 and 2019 was where I started really enjoying the ideas that I had for him, and it's kind of where I moved and eventually kind of became who he is now. So it's nice to see that. Next picture. This one I wanted to share because I actually really enjoyed the background work. I really enjoy background work now, and I like doing stuff for basic concept art for my different worlds. This is actually for another planet. It's not Earth, actually. Maybe I'll explain that in another video, but I decided to share this one because it's kind of basic, but you could see that there's different stuff going on in the composition. You could see clearly the surf kind of pushing in with the ebb and flow of the tide. You see the background has clouds, it has trees, it has a shoreline, beaches, got rocks, got a character in the background, and then we have the center. Yeah, the front and center character. His name is Ivo. Ivo is one of my favorite characters to draw. He is a Turkish Angora, I believe that's the type of cat he is. He's very coffee oriented, and he works at a coffee place, and he works as like what did he work as? Like storage. He works in a storage area, and he kind of also fixes the ice machines because he's really good at that for some reason. I have to go through the character, but he's really cool. I like drawing him because I enjoy his hair. His hair is really blonde. He also is just kind of mean looking, but he's cool people. He's real. So this is one that I kind of want to share with you guys and show that concept art and backgrounds and stuff like that are something you should work on too. You never want to be a one-trick pony and only know how to do backgrounds and not know how to do characters, or vice versa. You can learn how to do all of it, and you can do your own things, and eventually, if you get good enough, you can make them into projects, and you can do all kinds of cool stuff. Next two. The next two are actually 2019, so this is actually the most recent stuff I will share with you all, and it's pretty cool. These are actually stuff from last year, relatively late in the year actually, so this is actually, this next one right here actually, as you can see the date is actually 7/11, so this is actually would have been a couple weeks ago, last year. So this one kind of is really solidifying my character style. You can see I'm really getting the sketches, and I'm trying different brushes, but I'm sticking to the same ones mostly. I'm enjoying different poses. You see my persona is actually enjoying an ice cream with a mountain range in the background. It's as simple as it gets, but I really do enjoy this picture because it kind of shows different uses of value. It really does feel like a sketch. I can see the different things that are kind of going on with this, and I could say, there's different things that are trying to be made, and you could see the different elements kind of coming together into one. In the background, you could see that there's grass right next to his tail. You could see that there's probably like a mountain range in the background. You could also see that there's a water body in the background. You can see little bits of reflection. Then the butterfly and a persona are kind of placed nice in the center because they are the main focus. But the background is also there too, so you can see that too. And they're not using the same brushes throughout the entirety of the composition. There's stuff going on in the background that wasn't made by the brush that I used to sketch everything. So it's a way to kind of show and enjoy showing different ways and different means of creating the composition. And you can see that my forms have tightened up. I mean, if you go back to this and this, everything is a lot more tight, it's a lot more focused, and it's a lot more meaningful in the stroke that I'm using with each brush stroke that I'm making. So it's really cool to see that something I've improved on and I've struggled with is actually working. It's working in my favor. So there's that. I have one more picture to share. It's this one. This one I actually put in my senior show. I graduated college a couple months ago, and this is one of my exhibition pieces. It's called Sandy. That's literally what it's called, I believe. Or I think I called it an epic adventure or something like that, because I wanted to I didn't want them to annoy me with my title. But you can actually really see, and kind of, I'm gonna go in just a little bit. You can see that I was really getting into hatching and cross hatching with this particular piece. Frankly speaking, this was towards the back end, when I had a lot of stuff going on in my life. If you all remember, my house burned down and had a lot of other stuff going on. So making stuff in art for the senior show that I had was really my only focus after that, and trying to pass and graduate. So seeing this, actually a nice way to end this video, because I really enjoy looking at the amount of detail that I kind of put into it. And you can even see down here, there's actually little bits of what different colors of sand, like different specks and flecks, stuff like that. And out in the distance, everything fades out due to atmospheric, what is it called? Atmospheric, what is that stuff? Think, you got it. You got it. You're so close. Atmospheric perspective. Things fade out and they turn blue and gray as they get further away from your line of sight and from the horizon line. This is what that's trying to achieve, is trying to achieve a sense of depth and distance that the characters in the center here have to share. Oh, and by the way, you probably noticed, but this is my persona. Again, there he is. And this is actually his sister, and that's his brother. So the trio, we're going to go to this thingy up here. And you can see that this also is like lineless, and it's got different types of things. And I was experimenting with doing different types of topography with the brush. You could see as I was making like different lines that kind of suggest different forms and different twists and turns and indentations with the rocks and stuff like that. It's the little things that you learn and understand that kind of become really big and meaningful as you kind of go about your daily life and your art. And that's all I can really say about this one, other than the fact that out of all of them, of course, it's probably one of the more impressive ones as far as its detail and its sense of overall cohesiveness. But going back and looking at all these pictures, what really stands out is just the amount of change going from point A to point B, getting from the beginning to the end. And that's kind of what I wanted to share with you all. It's been a couple years of me doing stuff with art, and every year I kind of look back and see what's more important, what I've changed, what I've improved on, what I've kind of suffered with. But seeing this, it kind of makes me feel good, and it kind of makes me happy to share, because anybody can improve. It doesn't really matter who you are. It doesn't matter what you're trying to do. As long as you stick with it, you will improve, because this is 5 years of work. 5 years of trial and error, and eventually finding that you know what you're doing, and you could always learn. Once you learn, you can always add to your repertoire and become much stronger than you were the day before. And that's what I wanted to share, and that's my message on my birthday eve. You'll get better, you'll do great, as long as you see your shortcomings and fix them. You could always fix them, and you could always learn to do something new, and you could always learn that you're a badass in every sense of the word. And with that, that's all I've got to really share. I hope you guys have a good time. It's been a couple weeks, but don't worry. My actual birthday video couldn't be made because I've been working. I've been doing a lot of full-time work, but YouTube I haven't forgot about. I've just been trying to make videos. So eventually you guys will actually get a live action video out of me soon enough. It'll come. I swear it will. It's going to be video game related. So I hope you enjoy when it does come out. But happy birthday to me. Happy birthday to you if your birthday is today too. Hi. Birthday, Leo. You're pretty cool. And you guys have a good day. Like the video, share, and comment. And I'll see you all later. Hey, before you leave the video, I just wanted to say kind of quick that I'm doing an art raffle. If you're interested, just comment down below and just say something nice. You don't have to follow, you don't have to subscribe. It's my birthday week, so I decided to do something really cool for everybody, and I just want to thank you guys for watching my videos. If you're interested, like I said, comment down below, and I'll announce a winner next week on Monday. So, with that being said, I'll see you guys later. Good luck and happy hunting. See you around.